when I was 15 years old, I ran into my very first book that I ever read cover to cover, and it was Think and Grow Rich in my dad's I'll call it library. It was the spare room where he did kind of some of his home work. And I read that thing cover to cover, and I just remember still distinctly my dad had read that thing probably, I don't know, a dozen times, because like there was dog-eared corners, and he had notes in the margin, some highlighted stuff and underlined stuff. And it made a huge impression on me. And so when I was, I guess, building this this vision in my mind of what I wanted to do with my life, it didn't include dentistry at the time. I just created in my head that, hey, in 20 years, I was reasonable. In 20 years, I want to be a millionaire. And to me, I couldn't even imagine more money than $1 million in the bank and netting $1 million at the end of every year. And so I worked towards that. And the multiple practice ownership went back to that original goal of I just want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 35 years old. And so I built up these first 6 dental practices. And I remember the day that it happened, my CPA was like, hey, check out your tax return. We need to e-file this by midnight tonight. We're pushing up against this deadline. I opened up my laptop and I saw it for the very first time. I was 38, so I missed it by 3 years, but I was 38 years old. I already had $1 million, more than $1 million cash in the bank. And there it was. That year I made like $1,034 or something like that on my W-2. And I just remember closing my laptop and going, damn, is this what this is supposed to feel like? Because it feels terrible. I had never been more miserable in my life. I was unhealthy. I was working 80-hour weeks. I was eating fast food, drinking way too much at night to go to sleep. My personal relationship was on the rocks. I was not seeing my kids because I was working so hard. And I was like, damn, I really have to change something drastically or else I'm going to implode. And this singular focus, singular financial goal did not bring me any fulfillment or joy or happiness at all. But I accomplished it. I checked it off the list. So it was at that point where I actually sold a handful of my practices, went down to 2 practices, and then recreated the systems that you were talking about earlier. And once I had those figured out, I mean, the sky was the limit. We got to 10 practices very, very quickly, and I cut my work week in half. I was much more fulfilled, much healthier in every aspect of the word. And it all came down to having it nearly burn down before I realized that I had to do it totally differently.